All right, so we have now a contact form. We fill the contact form. It goes to an n8n workflow. That n8n workflow initiates a phone call using VAPI. What's next? Now, we need to get that transcript from that phone call. Now, if I explain the concepts a little bit quickly here on this whiteboard, there's something called a webhook, and there's something called an API. In this particular use case, we need a webhook, but unfortunately, there is no webhook available for this particular use case by ElevenLabs as of now. What's our use case? Our use case is that we have a contact form here. Let's call it the contact form. And this contact form initiates a call on the, we'll skip the n8n part just to make it simple, on the side of ElevenLabs. And now ElevenLabs, the call itself is going to take a lot of time. So now imagine this contact form. Let me make these two a little bit smaller so that we can put some more information here. So this is an n8n workflow, and this is, let's say, their servers, like literally the ElevenLabs server. So this initiates a call here using an HTTP request node, right? So the HTTP request that we did. Now the HTTP response cannot come immediately with a transcript. So the HTTP response happens immediately, but what happens is that the phone call in here is going to take time. Let's say it takes 3 minutes or 2 minutes. That 2 minutes of the phone call, once it's done, and on the servers of ElevenLabs, once the transcript is available, I want this not to be an HTTP response. It should be another HTTP request. It should say like, hey, give me that API that I should call on your server once the 2 minutes is done. So that's called a webhook. I provide an API to ElevenLabs. Once ElevenLabs is done with its work, then ElevenLabs calls my API with all the transcripts inside a nice little object. But unfortunately, there is no webhook available in n8n right now. So if we go to ElevenLabs and then we go to login, this is not the right window. I'm going to stay here and maybe bring this thing right here. Let's go to ElevenLabs, login. And then if you go to webhooks, I have already done a webhook for utilizing a call function. And I have added a production URL of a workflow, which is on my n8n. And there is no workflow call happening in this instance. And the reason is because this webhook do not exist. So this get transcript was supposed to, well, this is the later on prep that I have done. So this one, this is the same production URL that I have copied, 1CF, and same one, 1CF at the end. Now, when I ran multiple times, I didn't get any execution happening here. So basically, the API was never called. The webhook was never called. And after a little bit of research, I found out that ElevenLabs do not provide any webhooks for this particular use case, which is a call happening through an AI agent with Twilio. So in this particular case, what we need to do is use another API from n8n, sorry, not from n8n, from our ElevenLabs by providing a so-called conversation ID. And then if we execute this endpoint, it will give us all the transcript. You can see here that's the transcript array. and it has all the transcript of the call. How does it know which call? It is based on that conversation ID. Where does the conversation ID come from? The moment you execute a call. So when you do a call execution, I believe we had one of those calls successfully done here. Here, let's stay focused here. So you can see there is a a call SID available here and a conversation ID available here. If I copy this and I go to that API that I have shown here, we have this conversation ID, and the editor we need to send the API key. It's just a GET, it doesn't have a body. So the moment you hit this endpoint, you will get all the response of that. Probably this agent ID doesn't exist anymore. I may have deleted or changed something, but the API call before indicated that it works. So this API call will need to be done in our n8n workflow. So in this episode, or in this video, I just want to explain this current edge case that exists in ElevenLabs as of the time of the recording, 14th of July. In future, they may have this feature, but right now there is none. So in that case, we're gonna end up having a different approach, which is basically an API approach, which I have already indicated here. The way this will work is as following. We will have like an interval, something called wait node. So the request will come from here, everything we have done for initiating the call, and then there will be a wait, let's say for blindly for 10 minutes. And then after that, we will do an HTTP request node. So there will be an HTTP request node happening after 10 minutes. And then in this HTTP request node, we're going to pass exactly this API call by getting this curl from here and then doing that inside this in n8n workflow. So I'm going to go and find it out. This is the workflow. We have a contact form submitted. That contact form goes and initiates a call. As soon as the call comes back, we have, as the response of this call, an ID, which is going to be this particular ID that we got, the conversation ID that goes in the head of this one. So that's what we're going to do in the next video. Until then, thank you so much for listening so far. See you in the next one.